Hello, everybody. When me and John first had a conversation, this is John. He coaches me. I'm Isaiah. I have a 50.5-inch vertical. And the first conversation we ever had at the end of the call, there was a question John posed to me, and it was essentially, what would happen if I did actual good training, right? What would happen if a pro dunker trained like a track and field athlete? And we are going to be reacting to a high jump video. And the reason this is relevant to you guys, that is obviously if you're a track and field athlete, this is super relevant. But if you're a dunker or a basketball player or a volleyball player, this is still extremely relevant because this stuff right here is a foundation of what THP was. It's like the THP forefathers were the ones that were coaching these athletes and where we learned a lot of our information from. So yeah, without further ado, let's learn some stuff.
So this is for background. There is like a little bit of audio, I guess. Let me put the subtitles on so you guys can see that. It should be auto-generated.
All right.
We'll turn this audio up.
Ловким и выносливым. Для развития этих качеств существует целый ряд специальных упражнений.
If you want, I can read it. Like, you can turn the audio off and we can read it.
You want to turn the audio off?
Беговая.
Right, yeah. So basically, yeah, because I think it's probably better. So basically, they talk about the different ways that they organize training, and this is pretty interesting. They actually say blocks when they're going through like the subtitles and stuff, but they basically say like there's a general warm up, then there's running exercises, plyometrics, weight room, and then the technical aspect. So the first part of the video is just the warm up. They basically go for a 20-minute jog, which is interesting, and then they go to the beach and they just like do some stretching, and they basically claim, now mind you, this is like from the 60s, maybe, like, no, it had to be the 70s, probably had to be the 70s. And they are doing like just jogging to the beach. Then they do like different stretches and things like that. Look, reverse Nordics, baby. Thought you were original. No one's original. The Russians did it already. Then they just do like dynamic flexibility. They claim it like warms up their tendons and ligaments. And then they essentially go into, they accept loads to help them reduce injuries when performing basic exercises. And then they do like walking on the shells to strengthen their skin, which I think is kind of funny. But the dynamic flexibility exercises are standard. I don't think there's like anything crazy, but it's interesting because this is, I mean, what if this was
They are
60...
super mobile.
Yeah, I know, right?
This reminds me of when I was watching Fabian warm up, and I was like, bro, this dude is so mobile.
Yep. Not all of them. Like, this guy's kind of mediocre. But like some of them are a lot better than the others. There's some freak athletes in here though. Like when you watch their bounding and stuff, they look so elastic.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting. So yeah, they literally just like do a bunch of dynamic stretches, which are kind of just addressing all the different joints of the body. Unloading. See, they're not doing unsupported forward flexion, obviously. Some leg swings. And then they do some like walking on the sand. Look at that. Strengthening and hardening the body on barefoot pebbles. I thought that was funny. And then they talk about the gymnastic exercises. And this is relevant, Isaiah, for you. And they're saying they're training the vestibular system with this, i.e. they're training like proprioception. So he's just essentially doing the flips into the pool and flips into like on the trampoline to learn how to rotate. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Like they're also just having fun screwing around in the pool, which is kind of ironic. But they do that for a bit, and then they get into the actual high jump. So they say they're moving 8 to 9 meters per second, and then they're doing the running drills. So Fabian and I were watching this the other day, and it's pretty interesting. They pretty much always use this incline hill because they feel that running up and down it will increase the load on the foot. And specifically, like they say that this increases the load on the forefoot. And then when you're going up the hill, it trains the back of the foot. It allows you to stay higher on your foot when you're running down a hill. Typically, when you run downhill, you're braking. So that was a little bit interesting. And then they're doing like these very light, essentially plyos. And they say that using the hill increases motor recruitment, or motor activity is what they say here, which there is some truth to, right? Like if you're moving against resistance, you have more time to recruit motor units. But Yeah, distance of 20 to 40 minutes. I think they meant meters, 20 to 40 meters. And they're just doing all these plyos. So this is like, I don't know how many times a week they're doing this. There's probably like evidence somewhere to indicate that, but they're doing a lot of different plyos. And I think most people would, that if they didn't weigh 120 pounds, would die. Like not these running drills specifically, but like when you see them do a lot of the other plyos, you're going to be like, holy hell, that's brutal. They also do some pretty interesting like technical stuff with the takeoff drills. Like they'll do later in this, they'll have the sled or the tire, and they'll be doing takeoffs over a hurdle with the tire. And I thought that was pretty cool as well. But they're pretty much all claiming these are running exercises, and then they're going to do like some, yeah, I guess essentially hurdle drills. So all this stuff is like very dated, but all of it is super relevant today. Like we still use all of these tools. We still use resisted running. We still use running drills. We still use sprints and hurdles and stuff like that in track and field and for high jumpers in the general preparatory phase, or in the, I would even say like special preparatory phase. They're also doing tempo running, which is ironic because a lot of high jump coaches will say like tempo running is irrelevant, but I don't think that's the case. I think it offers a lot of value. It's some elastic contact. You're getting pretty high loads. Your Achilles has to function like pretty stiff, you know, but are you seeing anything here that's interesting to you, Isaiah? Or are you just like, this looks like our training?
Yeah. Well, it depends how you define interesting. I think this is all interesting, but
it's
I'm
pretty
curious
similar
about the relevance of a lot of the stretching. I do think a lot of it is specific to high jump, like the proprioception stuff. Like there would be kind of no point for anybody to do that. But now that I'm going to be practicing high jump, I'm seeing that and being like, oh, like,
yeah. And this is
wanna-
specific for for high jump. So for you and your new goal of jumping 8 feet off 2, that's super relevant. Then they do a lot of soft tissue work. So yeah, after the running workouts, they'll just like, you know, have some guy do Swiss massage or whatever. That's me. That would be me. Just massaging out your calves. You want me to do that for you, Isaiah?
I need that after every workout, John.
Yeah, dude. Let me get in there and just massage. You think my hip could do that? I just fucking tear my labrum.
Bro, that would feel so good. Like doing that to my hip, you're gonna feel so good.
Now they're gonna get more into like the actual high jump training. So the running drills, they're pretty much doing all those drills on turf, and then they're going and sprinting, and they're doing like accelerations and flies, which is still super relevant. So even though this is almost 50, 60 years old, like all of this stuff
jumping here, by
is
the
still
way,
relevant. That's probably 225, so over 7 feet easily.
Do you know
Like
what
that, I don't know how high that
at
was.
this time?
I don't know when this clip was published, so that's the hard part. But dude, look at this on the Achilles. Oh, good golly God. That is so brutal. Even though it's low intensity, that incline is just brutal on your Achilles.
Yeah.
I want to say the record was probably, let's say 235 or something at the time. I don't know.
232 in the 70s. 1976. 1976, 233.
Well, they're doing the flop in this. So when did the flop come out?
No, the flop wasn't the flop in the 60s.
Maybe late 60s, early 70s.
Come out 1968.
Yeah. So guys, I mean 1968, but it was really popular in the 70s. Like people were still doing the straddle in the mid 70s. Like Les Yeschenko was still doing it at the time. So now they're doing the bounds and stuff like this, and this stuff is pretty intense. Like they're getting after it here on this stuff. Like they're standing bounds, running bounds. They're doing depth jumps into bounds. Like the loading here is.
Guess what the record was in 1827?
I don't know. What was it?
5'2".
I would have had that. You know what's crazy? Okay, this I was talking to Fabian about it.
This is the video these clips came from.
Yes, when you get that much horizontal momentum off the box, dude, it adds so much load to your patella moving forward and then having to move upwards. Like it's just absolutely brutal. Falling off that height, moving forward, and then being that elastic off like what looks like a 1.5 meter box. These are good. They're super reactive. And what's crazy is when you get into the weight room exercises, they'll say like, don't put more than half your weight on the bar for any exercise on the power exercises with the barbell. So that means for you wouldn't have any more than like 90 pounds on the bar for any of the jump exercises. And they do they do like a behind the neck split jerk. They do a snatch at or I think they do like cleans. They do like a running exercise with the bar on their back. Like it's just like crazy stuff. It's kind of it's really bad. Like it doesn't look good. It looks very, very mediocre when they do it. The technique is bad, the intent's bad. Like I think most of the adaptation they're getting is right here. Is on this stuff. The loading is just so intense on this. And I was talking to Fabian about it too, and we were talking about how good high jumpers were like 40 years ago, maybe 30 years ago.
80s? Like with like
these,
Sotomayor days?
like Soto was like early 90s. But in the 80s, dude, guys were jumping higher than they are now by a lot. And there were a ton of guys jumping over like crazy bars.
You think steroids?
I think steroids played a role, but but the thing is, like, even with that, look at like Bill Russell, dude. Bill Russell, Fabian and I talked about this. He ran like a 48 in the 400, or 49 in the 440, and then he high jumped like I think it was like 6'11" in the Western roll, which is a very inefficient technique.
Bill Russell did?
Yes, dude.
What about Will?
Huh?
Are you thinking about Will? I know Will is really...
No, dude, I'm pretty sure it's Bill Russell.
Because I know Will is really popular for his track, like his high jump and 400.
I'm pretty sure Bill Russell did as well.
That's
Which, by the way, that first one where they're jumping up the box is not very intense, but these ones are insane. I don't really see the point in the box, like the low box. Why not just use the ground? But this one is crazy. These plyos are so intense, like so intense.
Wow, yeah, Bill
Russell was
Russell,
nuts.
That's crazy. His record still stands at USF.
Yep. Dude, he was a freak athlete. People don't realize how freaking crazy he was. And that's why I kind of wonder, people are always like, oh, the NBA has gotten so much more athletic. I don't know if it has. Like, he's basically hurdled over like 6'10".
But I think it was just more common for guys to do, like, they had more what is it called? Like, there wasn't early specialization in those days. Like you had athletes playing multiple sports. Like, bro, think about if LeBron...
I don't know. I ask myself that question all the time. But
dude,
but if you look at the high jumpers and the way that they take off, like I see a lot of basketball players go to do high jump and they suck. Like they suck at high jump. Dude, Keo Dorici can touch 13 feet and he high jumps 6'3".
That makes no sense to me.
I know, but that is a fact.
But that's off 2. 1 versus 2.
Yeah, but still, like, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Look how mediocre these weight room exercises are. Just 50 kilo. That's on his back. He won't have more than like 115 pounds. Single leg. But I actually kind of like that exercise because it's like pretty high intent. But like this is mediocre as hell. Like she's just basically strict pressing this. That's like still pretty mediocre, right? Pretty low intent. That's pretty good. The snatches are good. I think those are solid. But that guy's a freak. Did you see his plyos earlier on?
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is bad. Like I would consider this pretty mediocre.
It's giving NBA player training.
Yeah, it's giving NBA. I mean, this is good. This is like decently heavy, but it's definitely pretty mediocre. The hops though, that's crazy. The hops with it, that's pretty high loading, and the jump squats. Oh, where's it at? Right, not these ones. But this is still pretty, like he's probably trying as hard as he can. It's just like not very good. They just don't have a lot of low end power. And then you go in the weight room. I mean, this is okay. He's like, looks like he's kind of trying hard, but I mean, I don't know how much weight that is. It doesn't look that crazy though. Like they're just kind of like putzing around through here. There's nothing in here that's really.
There's a lot to say about. I think a lot about like just the elite performance world in general, and there's such a discrepancy in how hard athletes train in the weight room, Because like
Yeah.
that workout we just saw technically could have been an insane workout if you just put more weight on the bar and have them try.
Oh yeah.
We also don't know. Like, what if this was just like their camera, like a camera guys out there, and like their
Oh, he's
coach tells
trying
them
as
to
hard as he
get
can.
the
Look at his
workout?
face, though, dude. Look at his face.
Yeah,
He's got the try hard face. Like that's as hard as he
he
can
looks
try.
like Finn, like Finn.
Yeah. Like it's just not good. They do hydro massage. I thought that was pretty interesting for recovery. But the plyos, I think the reason they got better is this stuff. Because like I don't care how much weight you lift in the weight room, dude. This stuff is infinitely more impressive. Like what he's about to do here, that is infinitely more impressive than what he did with the bar. You know, like they just have so much strength in that position. They're so elastic and stiff. Like they just land and they don't amortize like at all. They don't bend their knees. I mean, part of it's that they're just super light.
What are your thoughts on, you know how dunkers, like the pros, just dunked a ton,
Mm-hmm.
and then Stephen Holm, he has the record for highest height above his head, and I remember watching a video of
Franklin
him.
Jacobs does actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But all right, so he's number two.
Yeah, I think he's 2 or 3.
Stephen Holm has a video, and he was saying he's like, I've taken more high jumps over the course of my life than anybody else on the planet.
So Fabian has a really interesting take. Fabian's Swedish. Stefan's Swedish. You know that, right? Yeah. Fabian interacts with Melwin, his son, all the time. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Like they interact, like basically they see each other multiple times a year, multiple times a month. Like they were on a flight together to European indoor national or European championships, right? All the European champions, like they sat together and talked about training. So Melwin does exactly what his dad did. And they take 50 plus, like he has a training journal in Swedish that Fabian read. I've never seen it because I can't read Swedish. But by the way, this is where they're getting better. They're not getting better in the weight room. I don't care what you say. This is where they're actually getting better. And anyways, apparently his off season is very like strength dominant, but then he jumps so much in high jump, like just like so many jumps, 50 to 60, just full approach jumps like per session. And I think when other people try to emulate that, they quickly stagnate. I think that high jump is so genetically predetermined that you have to find ways to move the needle forward. You can't just high jump all the time and expect to get like world-class performances. At some point, you're going to need to touch the weight room. And Stefan actually said,
I mean, that's similar to dunking too.
He basically said, and this Stefan did say, and I agree with, he's like, high jump as much as possible from a young age until you stagnate and then touch the weights. And I do agree with that. I think that's true. Outside of like learning the basics of the movements, I think there's some truth to that. And that's pretty much where we align, on that very, very much so. But I wouldn't say that like Stefan's the most successful decorated high jump coach. He's one of the most decorated high jumpers ever. And he's famous in Sweden. But I would argue, and this isn't like to just discredit him, I think he's he has some great ideas, but I think he's a much better athlete than I would say like his resume as a coach.
Those jumps, by the way, look like he was stepping on the air.
Yep. That's like triple jump technique. So I think that, his high jump technique and how many times he high jumped, I mean, dude, it's awesome. It's amazing, but that won't work for everyone. I don't think that'll work for 90% of people, like most people will get hurt. Dude. Most people will get hurt doing that.
It's like the Kilgannon thing. Like, he dunked 3 to 4 hours every day for years.
Most people cannot. I tried it too, and we died. It doesn't work for everyone. And so you have to find out like what they've been doing and what they can handle. And
another example is Dillan McCarthy.
Yep. And his training looks entirely different. I would never program what I gave him for other people. He trains more than anyone I've ever seen, dude.
And is there somewhere like if they want like a program specific to them, is there somewhere they can
if you want a program written by me personally, go to teachbestrength.com and I'll write the best training for you individually. So it's very affordable and the service is incredible. Anyways, did you see what he just did there? He jumped over the hurdle with a tire. Did you see that? I
saw it and didn't process it.
Like, I thought that was crazy. So what's interesting is it's like a pretty accelerative jump when you're doing that, because you have to accelerate with the tire. Like, you have to push so hard into the takeoff to be able to like
Yeah.
still accelerate over the hurdle. But dude, look how
Bro, could
easy
you
that is.
imagine doing this? Like, I bring a tire to a basketball court and just do dunks.
You could do it on the track. It would be easy. But yeah. I think they're just so elastic. Like, look how fast he's getting on and off the ground and how stiff he is over this like
Yeah.
speed jumper. Just dude, just pops right over it. Just absolute freak. So they do a lot now. That's like their general kind of stuff for technical work. Now they're actually getting into high jump and practicing high jump. So they're going to start. I mean, they're doing this is home hurdles before home hurdles were a thing, which is kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what popularized them, but they're just hurdle jumps. They've been used for a very, very long time. People have been doing them for whatever 30 plus years at this point. Now they're basically just working on the actual technique of flopping.
I can see Marty getting into high jump, man.
You think so?
Yeah.
I hope so. It's a fun event. I love it. So in general, when I'm watching this, I'm seeing a lot of athletes doing a lot of different. I think they're getting better with just the technical work here. And I was explaining this too. Like, dude, do you think about Jesse Owens, dude? Jesse Owens in dirt ran like, what did he run? Like 10 seconds in dirt?
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Dude, that was in like, what year was that? I don't even know.
Have you seen? There's a YouTube video that came out a few years ago, and it was basically saying how it asked why did athletes stop getting better, like, and it was saying about like the progress like was going like this, and all records were getting broken, and then it just kind of stopped in
Yep.
track and field specifically, and it was arguing that it was just the surfaces and the footwear improved
And
up
not
to a
people
certain
actually
point.
getting faster. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like, you look at it, some people can make the argument that it's the training is way better. The clay, like, who knows what the actual reason is. Fabi and I were talking about it quite a bit. And I think just the nature, he's doing like a straddle type takeoff. He used to be a straddler. You can tell. Because at this time, a lot of jumpers switch to the flop thinking it was better. When you watch his takeoff leg, you can see it. Watch how hard and low he swings his takeoff leg. See how he kicks like that?
Yep.
That's what you do in the straddle, but now he's going to do a flop. And that is not his preferred. He'd probably be better at the straddle, honestly. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the whole video. I mean, after this, they just kind of like.
What was it that you were saying?
So I was saying, like, when you ask yourself why the athletes were so good back then with seemingly limited training access or whatever else, one, I think, is that the Russian style of training was pretty good. But when you're looking at someone like Jesse Owens, who didn't probably touch a weight, who literally just went out and ran as fast as he could, one, you pick your parents wisely. Like, you can't. Genetics are genetics. They're going to be what they're going to be. You look at, like, we just looked at Bill Russell, dude, how freaky he was. Dude, he hurled over 206, 207. Like,
No,
and then you look at all
crazy.
the jumpers. Then you look
Bro,
at all
crazy.
the high jumpers in the 80s, dude, who literally were jumping way better than now. Like, way better than now. There were so many guys who were unheard of who were jumping 7, 8 plus, and that you would never know the name of. And I didn't realize this until Fabian came and stayed with me and was like, look at all these jumpers that were better than now. And I'm like, and we started talking about it more and more. I think part of it is that people played outside more. And I think that helped develop better qualities. And then I think also it was the nature of the events training the athletes. Like, that's what made them better, is the events have such high forces that you're going to get better just by doing your event. If Jesse Owens goes out and sprints, that's the most specific stimulus. I think what really changed is the longevity of athletes. Like, Yeschenko jumped 238 or 235 or something like that in the straddle. Fabian would know off the top of his head because he's a freaking dictionary. And he ruptured his knee at 21, dude. Patella just, apparently it was the most disgusting injury ever that literally competitors like threw up when they saw it. That's how like gross it was. But he jumped, he like was the world champion straddler. He was competing against people doing the flop and he was straddling, which is a totally different technique, considered inferior, beating them, right? But ruptured his knee. You look at how old these athletes like are when they're done competing. And I think that's the biggest difference. I think drugs is a little bit of a role, but it's like even before that, I mean, guys were just, they're just at a higher level. And I think it's just the training wasn't that bad, in that time. And I think that the sport itself was just so insanely intense, specifically in track. Like I said, with Jesse Owens and stuff like that. Dude, Fabian showed me this guy from China that no one's ever heard of, that broke the world record at like 229 in, I think he was straddling. And just some random Chinese guy. Dude, he's jumping like 7'6" in 1969 on dirt into a pit of foam pool noodles. Like, it looked insane. And I don't know, it just kind of makes you realize what actually is going to, again, what actually matters versus what doesn't, and what's going to push the needle forward, versus what's not. So you always, I think, want to try to look at things holistically and always ask yourself why something is in the training, right? Like, what is the purpose of the weight room? You know, why are you doing it? Is it for tissue, or is it to train the nervous system? Like we were talking about Olympic lifting today. Is it in there for, like, the argument that Dan Back and I constantly have back and forth about it? Is it for the nervous system? Is it for tissue? Do you even need it? Is it for power work? Like, why is it even in there? And at the end of the day, that stuff, it's about manipulating those variables to get the maximum output. But I really don't think that training has improved that much over the last 50, 60 years. Like, I really don't. I think that it's gotten better, but newer does not mean better, is maybe my final point on it.
I think our role in the fitness world and social media is just telling people about the good training that has existed for a long time.
Yeah,
it's literally just
becoming more popular.
It's sitting on top of the building and saying, train like this. Stop doing that bullshit. I mean, bull poop.
Yeah, we have children that watch this, like my 9-year-old nephew or 11-year-old nephew. Yeah, I agree. But that's the video, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow.